please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic?
Hello everyone, welcome to This Week at X. We're going to start with a tweet from yesterday from Elon Musk, so now the video is demonetized. System purge of bots and trolls underway. Please reply to me or that account if legitimate accounts are suspended. X-Corp will be tracing the people responsible and bringing the full force of the law to bear upon them. This is because, and I'm sure many of you have seen it in your own tweets if you use the platform X at all, many replies that say ass in bio, link in bio, pussy in bio, basically the bot accounts hawking the AI generated only Fupa Fibro failed adult film acting accounts. It is about damn time Twitter did something about it, to be honest, because as a platform it is getting worse. While we're seeing apparently an increase still in traffic on that site, a chunk of it can be attributed to fake accounts. I'm not a fan of people making fake accounts to generate money out of fakery, and I'm fully aware that Twitter, much like any social media platform, is full of inmates in the horny jail, but those fake accounts are a pain in the ass, especially on my notifications. It's even more irritating when they're not fake accounts. I've seen a few of those, because sometimes I get bored and I click on the account and it pulls up hundreds of thousands of followers and they're actually a regular user of Twitter, and I'm just thinking, bitch, I don't need to see what's been used 1,000 times over, thank you. Put it away. Ta-ta. Muted. So next we're going to go through a thread concerning the quartering, references to Lauren Southern, Stephen Crowder, and Not Gay Jared. That's what the lawsuit apparently is called or been dubbed. Will Summer tweeted, former Stephen Crowder sidekick Not Gay Jared has teamed up with Matt Brunig to file an NLRB complaint against Crowder. Article included, I have filed unfair labour practice charges against Lauder with Crowder. In a thread, the quartering had retweeted that, but I'm going to go back to the first tweet that isn't referencing this just yet. The Not Gay Jared lawsuit dropped today, and in not one single place is there mention or evidence that Stephen Crowder has prevented him from working over the past 6 years, not one. That was the entire crux for him raising $100,000, right? Because Crowder wouldn't let him work. Now that the $100,000 he raised will go to some lawyer who has no chance to win this lawsuit, if I could give him any advice, it would be to first pay taxes on the $100,000 and then use that to launch your own show and move on. He grifted $100,000 from people who hated Crowder or who believe all women, and to be honest, impressive. Keffels did something similar. Go look at the lawsuit yourself, lol, it's hilarious. Oh, by the way, remember he willingly signed the documents. Here is the coverage, it's hilarious. I'm not going to lie, the Jared lawsuit I'm going to keep a close eye on because it might become a halls of injustice. These kind of lawsuits are tricky areas to navigate because Jared has to prove that Crowder prevented him from working. He's also got to prove the unsafe working practices of Lauder with Crowder. Not going to be very easy now, is it? But I am firmly in the belief, ballpark area I inhabit, of innocent till proven guilty, so I'm not going to presume innocence or guilt on anyone's part. But $100,000, and giving that to a lawyer first, that's interesting, because a smart person would pay the tax on that first. Because if you haven't been working, it's going to hit you hard. Now, where I referenced Lauren Southern, there are some images that were shared. Ariadna Jacob had tweeted them out with, where did this thread go? Lauren Southern, when did Jared say Stephen prevented him from working for the past 6 years? Do you have a clip, timestamp or tweet reference? Ariadna had replied, make this make sense. At 2 minutes 13 in the video he says he believes the legal process of depositions and turning over discovery is legal abuse, but in his suit against Crowder he will have to give up discovery. Where it gets interesting is Lauren Southern deleted her replies in the quartering tweet. Part of me thinks that some aren't actually paying attention to what is being said in the videos, and in turn, when they're adding their voice to a discussion, they're being found out for not paying attention. Watching Jared's video, Crowder's responses, it's all vitally important. If you don't pay attention to the context and simply act on what you hear online, you're going into it with only half the information. I recommend everyone watch Jared's video if you want. I think it vitally important people go into any discussion with as much information as they can have. I watched Jared's video, but I've still not formed an opinion of my own yet. I'm happy to watch this and let it play out rather than add a voice to the discussion or pick a side. I will admit there are some holes. Those holes come from inconsistencies from what is publicly available. Those inconsistencies will be laid bare in a courtroom when it has to be then fully fleshed out if it actually gets far enough. Lauren deleting was probably the smart move on her part, because from time to time she does open her mouth on YouTube and on Twitter and kind of show that she's not as informed as she could be. So next, Sean Strickland. He has been causing a bit of a stir of late, and that causing of a stir has led to some rather interesting back and forths. And I thought I'd read some relevant tweets on it, and you can form your own opinion based on his beliefs, agree or disagree, or neither, whichever's easiest or preferable to yourself. You know, I was raised by two working class white trash parents who never taught me how to be a real man or anything morally right. But you can't be considered a man if you don't have or want a family, and it absolutely scares me more than anything to try to be a good father. Sean Strickland. My girl watches the TikTok sadly. She keeps showing me Miss Peaches, the Barstool Sports guy's dog, and I asked my girl, does this man have kids? No. Let me tell you something, if you're a grown-ass childless man obsessed about a dog, you gotta rethink your life, rich or poor. Reply, Portnoy is a good dude. He's had a woman try to extort money from him and magazines ran hit pieces about it. I give him a pass. Reply from Sean, no, that's not what I'm saying. I've enjoyed Barstool, good Republican people. I'm just saying when you don't have kids, you turn into an empty shell trying to fill that void with a dog. Sean Strickland. Okay, I went too far. I'm sorry, your dogs are your kids. I know. As a man who loves his country, I just see the sickness that has infected us. The men before us built a nation, fought wars, had pride, God. What do we have now? Boys with dog children. The quartering. Hey, Sean Strickland. Don't mean to make you mad, but my wife put together these wonderful Easter baskets for our 3 German shepherds. I'll tell her you called her a loser. Happy Easter. Now, Sean Strickland's tweets garnered a boatload of attention, and he was trending because of his stance that if you are a man that doesn't have children, and you're certainly getting older, you are a bit of a loser, and that your life lacks fulfillment. It lacks purpose. It lacks a place in the modern world, as it were. Being mocked by the quartering speaks volumes about that. And by the way, for those who think that dogs can't eat chocolate, there are chocolates specifically made that dogs can in fact eat. There are a lot of people online who take a very cynical view to the purpose of a man and a woman in the world. My view is you live your life as you see fit. As long as you don't push your belief onto me, we're good. And I don't care what your belief is. If your belief is in the nuclear family, in God, so be it. Don't expect me to subscribe to it, because I don't. My view on animals has never changed. It's why I firmly believe in parity of esteem when someone harms an animal. They are a part of the family, and while many would consider them a lesser, I don't. But perhaps that comes from a position of, I'm a loser without children. But much like with the Jared issue and Steven Crowder, people have dug their heels in very quickly. And this is why Sean Strickland got so much traffic, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sean Strickland is a very outspoken individual, and you need more people to be outspoken, because everyone else is a coward. I don't generally consider myself outspoken, and I think it vitally important all differing opinions be given that platform to be able to speak, hence Twitter. If Elon Musk is to maintain his stance of freedom of speech, this is a good thing, right? Regardless of whether or not you agree or disagree. Just do us all a solid and deal with these slut bots. Thank you. Now there is a lengthy reply Sean Strickland got for his apology tweet. Yes, the snarky one. From Thomas Lawson. Don't apologise, you're not wrong. People like Dave, because he's got a great personality, has made a bunch of money and does fun stuff. However, you still have a point. What's the point in having all that success at his age especially and not having kids? I don't know the intimate details of Dave's life, but the general sentiment is still a solid one. I know way too many dudes who aren't having kids, guys in their 30s, 40s, who haven't done much in their life, are still partying, picking up DJing to pass the time, loading up on stimulants, and no kids in sight. They live comfortably, travel, but that's easy and unfulfilling. It takes a real man to raise another human being to be happy, healthy, and functioning human. If you are a 40-year-old dude cycling through women like socks and hosting mini raves, you're lost. That rubbish isn't hard to do. Getting up at 2 AM to soothe your baby back to sleep and then waking up at 5:30 to crush a bunch of work like it never happened with a smile on your face, that's manly. We have way too many lost boys who never became men out here cosplaying as men. The ironic thing is, too many women fall on these men and then walk away injured. Sean Strickland had retweeted this with, as a society, it would benefit us to make boys want to be men. we are rewarded for acting like children by society, bracket influencers. Sean does make a valid point here about how we raise children. It gets trickier when you push more what is dubbed progressive ideas, especially when it is normalized in education and normalized in certain developed areas of the world. Values that may not be shared in other areas. Of course they're not. They are very westernized and they're very particular westernized values. This conflict is not going to change anytime soon though, sadly, so the next couple generations are going to struggle. But a valid point that needs to be raised by Swoozy. There are two sides to this argument. We should want to be men who understand balance and avoid silly stereotypes. Just because someone doesn't want to have children and they love their dog doesn't make them less of a man. Sean, I don't think you can truly be a man without having or wanting a family. Well, it's nice to know that you have an opinion on this, and that's totally fine and I respect, but we're going to disagree here. I do not want to have, I do not want to start, I do not want to raise children, therefore start a family. It's never been a factor in my life. If you believe the worth of a man is determined by that, we're going to have to disagree, I'm afraid. Agree to disagree, politely. Can't do that on Twitter. People are too angry. The last thing I want to cover is a back and forth, a contentious one between the Quartering and Muta. He's featured a lot in this video today, hasn't he? I'll try and reduce that for future videos. The Quartering had retweeted Radio Genoa by saying Paris has fallen, not a single shot was fired. Many criticised the Quartering in the replies by saying they're just praying in public. I, again, have no vested interest in faith, so I'm not going to criticise those that pray publicly or not. Muta retweeted by saying, how did it fall? They're peacefully praying on Friday. The Quartering, I don't know that word. Okay, there are a few things I can't say, but skyrocketing crime, I can go with that. There are literal no-go zones. Muta replies, then we not outright mention that instead of just showing a Friday prayer? Quartering replied with a video called Here You Go, France. In the video, a man, he attempted to commit a truly heinous crime. Quartering retweeted Muta's How Did It Fall tweet by saying, Paris has been overrun by foreign invaders who destroyed their own countries with backward ideologies. There are literal no-go zones, gangs, violent extremists and more. A simple search would show you that the same thing is happening to America. This is where a swing happens. In the Quartering's replies, he still gets a bit of flack, but more start to agree with him. Muta retweeted this by saying, then share the videos of that instead of hiding behind a prayer video. I'd have a lot more respect for you if you just said smelly that. Quartering replied, you want me to share the videos? Why do you think this is, Muta? And he includes the number of police recorded offences in France from 2016 to 2023, with them skyrocketing. Muta replies, I see more reported over the years. How does this isolate a specific demographic? Quartering, how's this float your boat? 92% of thefts, 62% of assaults in Paris regional transports committed by foreign nationals. Not good enough, how about this? France's prison population is estimated to be 70% Muslim, yet they make up a very low percentage of the French population. Quartering had also retweeted the very same with the record graph thing, just to, drive home the point and for additional clicks. Muta retweeted that tweet by saying, now prove the rise of recorded incidents correlates to the people, those people. Nowhere on that dataset does it compare by racial demographics. The Quartering, I never said a thing about brown people. You did. Is it really your position that French citizens, despite widely reported migrant invasion over the past few years, are the ones deciding just to up that game? Muta, it took 30 seconds to debunk your headline while I was running a round of Siege. Again, this is the last one I have to say. I really don't want to continue clogging the timeline with this nonsense. Sorry. That said, all I was looking for was an answer to that prayer video of and France falling. I don't care much for this side of the internet. As a Muslim who grew up here, it's just sad to see a rise in... Oh, really? Quartering replied with, I'm sure the massive blanks in France is just racism. There's no point in looking into it. In Muta's 30 seconds to debunk, he includes some statistics of estimates of people and prison populations to debunk a 4% of the population comment from the Quartering. This is where Muta gets absolutely flayed, and by that I mean there is no version of this where he didn't turn the notifications off. The Quartering did retweet your 30 seconds Muta tweet by saying, is this an own? My apologies. 4% of the population in France is Muslim and only makes up 50 to 60% of the prison population. I stand corrected. I like your word, dude, but calling the facts Islamophobia is really odd. All religions have issues, but ignoring it won't fix it. As much as I'd hate to say this, and I'm sure many would too, Muta lost this. And he lost because when he tried to debunk he only managed to debunk 10% of crimes committed and prison population representation. The severity is no less, and the statistics annoyingly that came from the quartering did show a sharp incline and correlated quite handily to a vast amount of people coming into the country. As an Englishman who lives quite close to France, we hear about the issues in Paris all the time. The no-go zones are areas and slums that have been created by people who have segregated themselves based on some by race, some by faith, and then there's the classes as well. You've seen the riots. You have to be blind to that to ignore it. Sometimes you have to go into it without using your own lived experience to judge something without properly digesting all the information, which I guess is the theme of the video. A lot of people reacting and not giving thought to other perspectives, or deciding what is or is not valid or what is or is not fact. So it's just another day on Twitter, really, isn't it?